Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever. How is everybody? Is everybody having fun? I start all my talks off with a big old woo, let's have some fun. I'm going to go in like a bit of a different direction. How robots are taking our jobs, blah, 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 all those fun things. So what I'm going to talk about today is I've had the opportunity to work for some really cool companies over the last couple of years, and I've gotten to see the different sides, whether it's an end user, or it's a consumer, or it's a business, or whatever it is that's trying to use technology, and then all the way up into product management, helping build that technology. And if you throw all of it together and you look at where it's all going, the big picture side, I like to put myself in the shoes of the end user, as the customer, as the person who's actually using the Wi-Fi. And I like to take myself up to the CTO's office, who doesn't care about any of the technical jargon that any of us in this room have to say. They just want it to work. So my presentation is a little bit on that perspective, because that's the real world that we all live in, right? That's what Lee just painted a great picture about, how, hey man, sometimes you can't do the stuff that you want to do. So I'm going to talk about these points right here, because this is the slide that I was going to remove, but I asked myself these questions. Why do you do it? What's the point of a site survey to begin with? Why do you do it? What do you get out of it? What do you need from it? And who's going to do it for you? Because I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do site surveys. Nobody wants to do site surveys. They're not fun, right? And I'm not going to make them any more fun. So the 6 things that I'm going to focus on here. Number 1, I'm going to work clockwise on this thing. So first, why do you even do a site survey? Number 1, to physically locate devices. And if you think you've seen this presentation, you have seen some of it, because it was a short form presentation in Prague that's now been expanded. So just FYI. So number 1, why do you do a site survey? Physically locate the devices. Are they where they're supposed to be? Number 2, verify that those devices are transmitting the way that they're supposed to. Is the antenna connected correctly? 3, what obstructions are out there? Are there people walking back and forth? Are there doors? Are there windows? Are there walls? 4, check for interferers. 5, report and validate what's going on the network. Or 6, do you just want to visualize it? So I try to be encompassing on, I put myself in the shoes of me going out and doing a site survey. Why am I going to do the survey? And these are the reasons that stuck out for me. I'm sure there's other reasons out there why people do site surveys, but to me, these are the main things. So then if you break down each one of these things and you start to understand why you're doing them and what you're getting out of them, then maybe we can start to understand how there's tool sets out there that can help do that for us so that we don't actually have to go out there and do it. Now, if we don't actually have to go out there and do it, what does that mean for our jobs? Fascinating to think about. So let's dig in a little bit. Now, first question I always get asked is, what about packet capture? Where's Peter? Peter's here somewhere. Peter did a fantastic presentation last year. I encourage you to go look at it. It's called Analysis of the Future. He ended the conference with this session last year, talking about packet capture on devices, leveraging the devices that you have to do your packet capture for you. Not needing to be on-prem to do those packet analysis and those packet captures. So pretend you don't have to be on site to do a packet capture ever again. Let's just take that for granted. That's a Peter McKenzie thing, so I won't blame him for that one, but it's a good one. I don't want to be on site. Is a physical site survey necessary? Is it necessary for you to actually have to go out there and do the work? A lot of people think yes. A lot of people think no. Probably less people think no than think yes, right? So in this day and age, you've got tool sets. There's a whole bunch of tool set vendors in here. They've been up on the stage, they've talked about new products and new things and new gadgets and new this and new that. You can do a lot of the work from the comfort of your own desk. Thanks to these guys that have made these tool sets, right? These companies have put out these tool sets that have allowed you to model accurately, or as close to accurate as possible with the correct amount of data. You can use their tool sets to say, you know what, I don't need to go on site, send me the CAD file. Rip apart the CAD file, give me the BIM file, give me everything that's in there so I have as much information as possible to get 90%. Are there things that you're going to find when you go out on site that aren't in the file? Absolutely. When you have the ability, though, to dive into that file, not just as someone who's looking at it as this like 2D or 3D view of what the network looks like, if you're actually able to go and see what your experience is going to be as you're moving around inside that environment, that gives you that different perspective. It gives you that end user perspective, that client perspective. So again, why do you need to go out on site and go walk a floor if you have all of the correct information in place? Fair? It's fair. I think that's fair. Doesn't matter if you're doing it on one floor, multi-floors, 2 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, 6 gig, CBRS, sub-terahertz, the stuff that Microsoft is testing right now. Doesn't matter. As long as you have the right tools and you have the right software, you can get it done. What if you don't have all the information? What if you only have a little bit of the information, but you're more worried about where people are moving, how they're moving, what your signal is going to look like as people move? So now you're not just taking the information that you have, you're taking the information that you're going to need. What's cool about this product is these two nerds are here who built this product. Where are you guys? JT and Payman, okay? Where's Payman? Is he in the room? These two guys are not wireless people. One of them has a PhD in astrophysics. The other one, photonics. These are people that are looking at our industry saying, oh, these guys are doing it wrong. Maybe we're not doing it wrong. But they're looking at this going, we have a different perspective on what we can bring to the table to understand the environments that RF is supposed to be working in. Because it's that important to everyone, that it's not just us that care about it anymore. It's astrophysicists going, I think I can help solve this problem. So now you have data that you can bring in, you have data that you can assume, and you have data that you can visualize. In Prague, we talked about this thing. We talked about how, man, imagine if people were walking around with headsets on and they're like, you could see them up and down Silicon Valley walking around with headsets or driving Teslas with headsets on. And everyone thought that was so stupid 6 months ago. Now we're entering this age where people are beginning to be more accepting of what you can do with virtual reality and augmented reality. So guys can't just kick soccer balls around the office or take naps around the office, Mac. Because you've got guys like this. You've got to be careful what you post on LinkedIn, y'all. You've got the product designers and the product developers embracing this, looking at this going, maybe there is a different way that we can see this data that's out there. But this isn't anything new. This is a project that I did 2 years ago at a hotel conference called High Tech, where we were visualizing data in virtual reality and augmented reality. If you're in Prague, not this year, but last year, we had this set up downstairs. We had a full demo, not just of how you could see what was going on, but that little screen at the bottom, the video would get more pixelated depending on if you were closer or further away to the access point, because the CTOs don't care what color the little balls are in the hotel room. They don't care why it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. What they care about is, does the video work? Does the video work the way that's supposed to in that Embassy Suites hotel room? 4 years ago, I didn't even want to go on site to do a deployment in the middle of COVID. So what I did is I set up a camera in a box and I shipped it with a tripod out to a site and had them set up a camera so I could look into the environment in virtual reality using augmented reality to tell the installers where to place the access points. It's a real project. Site savers are expensive. Nobody wants to go out on site. No one wants to do that. In the spirit of WLPC, Keith, for the first time ever, we're marking down the site survey kit so they're not that expensive. The code WLPC10 for this week, my site survey kits, I knocked $500 off the price of them. So if you guys want one, get on wifisurveykit.com and you can order it. I thought I would do that for you guys since you guys have been such a great crowd with the people accepting this. Use WLPC10, and if you get on wifistand.com, the same code knocks 25% off of anything on our stores. So have at it. WLPC10. That's the only time you're going to see it. And once you see the recording, it will not work anymore. So back to our regularly scheduled program. I thought I would do something fun for you. So is the site survey even necessary, says the guy who makes the site survey kit. Is it? There's that whole just deploy more APs mentality that a lot of us have had to deal with, whether it's customers or whether it's bosses or whoever it is, saying, you know what, just put more APs, put an AP in every room. I worked for an organization that said we don't really want people in the future to have to worry about design and surveys and this because we can just deploy as many APs as we need to and we can let AI figure it out. It's easy. The capacity, it's built for capacity if you've got one in every room. There's no pre-work to do. AI makes it all magical. Obviously, it's expensive. There's cable install, maintenance, switch port. How many of y'all would be comfortable if your boss just said, just put more everywhere? It's not a comfortable feeling, but that's where some of these larger corporations are going. They don't want to have to deal with it. So as Lee said, it's up to us to just figure it out. Unless you can't. Yes. Deploying network as a service. This takes all the guesswork out of it, right? Nile, Meter, and not just in Wi-Fi. Aleph, Raman, GXC, Once with IoT. These are companies that will come in and they will just solve your problem. You don't have to know how many switch ports you need. You don't have to know how many Wi-Fi access points you need. You don't have to know any of that stuff. All you have to do is say, here's the SLA that I need, figure it out. And they go, absolutely, it's going to cost you this much per month. And people go, oh, it's on an OpEx model? Yes, take it, run with it. These are using artificial intelligence. These are using machine learning. These are using algorithms to understand where the APs need to go, why they need to go there. They auto-channelize. They use AI RRM. They use all these wonderful things to make the network work the way that it's supposed to. So all the things that we worry about are now solved by some of these technologies that are out there. Now, of course, these are big thoughts, right? But we always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years, and we underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. So we may talk about a lot of stuff here, and about how this is all changing in the next 2 years. So many, Wi-Fi 7, Wi-Fi 8, MLO, all these things are coming down the pike in the next 2 years, right? But how is that going to affect us in the next 10 years? On the product management side, on the product side overall, no one should be building products in this day and age without some bit of artificial intelligence integrated into it. They shouldn't be doing it. It's just a waste of resources if you are. You know how I know that? Because I had a 20-minute chat with ChatGPT this morning about this presentation. If you haven't used the chat feature, it's really cool. You just talk to it. Yeah, it told me it was terrible, don't worry. It's like you're going to put everybody to sleep. It's going to be fantastic. So some of the tools that are out there to keep you in the office, some of these things that we talked about require inputs and outputs. The old adage in the computer industry, as anyone who is an old programmer knows, garbage in, garbage out. If you give me bad data, I'm going to produce a bad result. You give me bad floor plans, I'm going to make that not what it should be. So how do you make sure that you get good data in so that you can let the machines do what the machines do best? You can use GPS. You can use find-time measurement. You can use access points that automatically identify where they are so that you know when you put it on a floor plan, you can validate that it's there, not because you go out there and look at it and take a picture, because the APs know where each other are. This is fantastic technology. You can use cameras. Man, I saw at the National Retail Federation show this year, I saw this camera that sits on the shelf. There's all these new technologies from SOS Emoji Tag, and they have these cameras that go on the shelf that just, a camera on this side reads everything on this side. It shows you what products are in stock, if they're all facing, how many times they get picked up, what products are most used, which products are most looked at. They're using cameras to do all these crazy analytics on things the size of a pack of gum. So you're telling me that we can't use the same surveillance cameras to identify where access points are? I know the cameras aren't pointed up, I get that. But in a world where you've got more surveillance out there, you've got 360-degree cameras, you can identify where it is. And then once you identify where they are, you need to be able to verify your service. Is the network working the way that it's supposed to? So what can you use as inputs to gather that information? Sensors like the WLPC. It can give you all kinds of data. You can use the network. You can pull data from all these different devices. The guy from RGNets talked about running MQTT data back into a central system to identify what's going on your network. That's an input. You don't even need to look at it anymore. You just feed it. Other devices, synthetic clients, apps on phones, Ookla, the guys from Ookla. You can use that data as an input to verify that the service is working the way it's supposed to. And then you can look at things and you can say, you know what? What if I just had a dashboard that's not telling me what's working and what's not working? It just says, hey, it's working the way it's supposed to. And if it's not working the way it's supposed to, here's how to drill down and find out where it's not working and why it's not working. What if you want to get down to the client level and look at clients and say, okay, how did that client roam? How did the client move from point A to point B? This is all data that's out there. This is all data that's available to you that you can look at, that you can take as an input, or you can pass on to another machine that another machine can use as an input. So now you're not having to do anything. Then you've got things like guided troubleshooting. Lots of different equipment manufacturers have this. Guided troubleshooting. Hey, I'm having a problem. Oh, well, click here. Here's how many people it's impacting. Well, click here to fix it. Click here so we can show you what to do. That's one step away from it doing it itself, right? In an interesting world. Taking your access points and using the access points as sensors. Maybe not to identify RF quality or connectivity quality, but to verify network services. Leveraging the network, letting the network understand what's going on with it in an automated process so that you don't have to be out there. All in the name of changing the way that you do site surveys. Identifying obstructions. These are pretty cool, because this is the hardest thing, right? When you go out into a room, how many of y'all have been in a room and you go, oh yeah, this is exactly what it looks like on the CAD floor plan, and then you look up and there's like a vent running right down the middle, right? Or there's like a pillar in the middle of the room that's not on the floor plan. Oh no, we remodeled. Oh yeah, oh well, thanks for telling me. Using sensors to identify that, this is one of the most exciting things. Do any of y'all go to CES? I can't be the only. I can be the only. There was one. Yes, I saw you there. The amount of LiDAR that's out in the world today is exceptional. There's a project that I did a while back where. Why are you waving at me, Dennis? CES. There's a project I did where we took Matterport cameras, 360-degree cameras with LiDAR to map the entire inside of a building. Now, this is usually used for real estate and for things like that. Why not use this when you're doing a site survey? Why not have someone go do this work for you? Why not strap it to an RC car? Why not strap it to a forklift? The green and yellow image is what happened in 14 minutes. They were able to do a LiDAR scan of that building. The thing on the right is what I saw at CES from an Italian company, that in 30 seconds, it rotates itself around, and it downloads the image directly to your phone, and it gives you a full LiDAR reading for up to about 70 feet. And then you move it, and it does it again. It does it again, it does it again, and it stitches it for you. So now I have a full understanding of what my physical environment looks like from not just photographs, but a LiDAR perspective as well. So if I can take these as inputs, and I can have to create an output with it, this is better than having some worker run out, one of your buddies go, oh yeah, man, I went out there, it looks great, everything looks great. Now you've got real data that you can feed into this. You guys know what Keller cones are? Trick question if you listen to the Prague speech. Keller cones are the things that cause the little circles at the end of like wingtips. So they're using Keller cones to determine where devices are using Wi-Fi signals. This was a test that was done in June of last year, where they were able to spell out those letters using the reflective properties and the location of the Keller cones on each one of the corners. So now you're using Wi-Fi to determine where objects are inside a room. So it's not just LiDAR. Now use the network. Use the network to do it. Use sensors. Use visual sensors. Use BLE. But what about the location? As you're moving through this environment, you have to know where you are in context of the entire building. UWB has been built in since iPhone 11, the U1 chip. FTM, find time measurement. How many of y'all have ever done a survey with a Sidekick or with the new Nomad? Yeah, trick question. You plug it into what? A phone that has ultra-wideband already built into it? Or find time measurement? Why am I not able to pull the location of where I am in the building, not just with the RF, but precise and accurate location using find time measurement and UWB? Can I check for interference? Yeah. Some of the great progress that's being made with partners all across the world, Apple, Cisco, Intel, where we can now pull data directly from the client device about what the client device is doing, where it's located. We can pull information about what's happening on the chipset, and then use that to report and validate to make sure that the network understands what's going on the network. I had to put a picture of UC in here somewhere. But you can use the guys from YBot, you can use WLAMPIs, and then you visualize it. This is one of those important things. Is it the big screen on the wall that you want to see your network working, or is it the little screen in your pocket? Or is it the screen that you strap onto your face? I'm totally over time, I'm sorry, Keith. Is it the screen that you strap onto your face? I say it's none of those. I say that's not the important thing. Visualizing the network isn't important. What's important is the network knowing what's going on the network. Is AI knowing what's going on the network? It's identifying where problems are. It's identifying what's happening. I just had to put this in here also because I read this the other day on Twitter and it was hilarious. Talking about screens, all we do is stare at screens all day. All day. So Why do we want to stare at more screens? Why don't we let the network do what the network does? Why don't we let the network learn from the network? Why don't we use AI to drive that? Use inputs to make those decisions. Use outputs if we need to. This is a picture I took just in case UC didn't send me this slide, but he sent me this slide. This is where he's taking real-time information from Meraki Cloud and piping it into Hamina. So now you're pulling data from one device, from one service into another service. Why do I even need to look at it anymore? Why not just figure out what's going on and tell me where the big ticket items are? Because the proof is in the pudding. The people that are using your network, they're the ones who are going to tell you if your network's working or not. And it's not important for you to look at it and see that something's working or not working. What's important is it's working all the time. So use AI, leverage AI, use that information to be brought in and help deliver those incredible experiences in the future. For you, for your job, what does it mean? I don't know. But what I will say is if you focus on these two quick things, what AI can do that we can't do easily, dynamic factor prediction. Where are people going to be? When are they going to be there? What about bringing in information like weather, like power outages, like grid information? I live in Texas. Our grid sucks. What about knowing that we're going to have brownouts in the middle of the day and how that's going to affect our network? Using AI to gather that data and make it accessible to me, I don't need to go out and do a site survey to understand that the power grid's going to fail. Those two things don't even go hand in hand. But they do because it's a user experience. Advanced troubleshooting? How many of y'all are looking forward to a troubleshooting MLO? Today, by the way, plug for the Wi-Fi 7 shoot-off, the MLO test that we're doing. If you haven't seen MLO, it's working right now. And if you think that's cool, what about multi-AP coordination? How many of y'all even know what multi-AP coordination is in Wi-Fi 8? Anyone? Of course Jake does. Come on. Multi-AP, dude, it's when you send to that AP and you receive from that AP and you send it on 2.4 there and get it on 6 gig here, or you send it on 5 gig there and from 5 gig over here. That's Wi-Fi 8, y'all. That's Wi-Fi 8. How are you going to troubleshoot that? That's what the robots are going to be good at. Anyway, I think that we're in an interesting time where AI, as long as we understand what it's capable of, it can help us understand how to use it. And this is just like a 24-minute presentation. Anyway, that's all I got. I do appreciate it. Thanks for your time, everybody.